Hello, everyone. Welcome to MMA Midnight. I'm your host, Shant Yeretzian, and this is our post-fight special for UFC 221 in Perth, Australia. The main event was Yoel Romero versus Luke Rockhold. There was a lot of other exciting fights on the card, and we'll get to those after, but I want to start off with the main event first. This was an awesome fight. If you didn't see what happened or hear what happened yet, Yoel Romero won by knockout. It was sick. He threw an overhand left that landed and just rocked Luke Rockhold. He was like pretty much like out against the cage, like falling down like against the cage, and Yoel just hit him with a huge uppercut that just knocked him out completely cold. It was a crazy finish. It was a brutal knockout. It was nuts. It was a good fight. I know Yoel missed weight on Friday, so we didn't get the interim belt. But Dana said after the fight that he's going to get that shot at Whitaker. So it's pretty much the same thing. He's still the number one contender. He's still going to get a shot at the real belt against Whitaker. So that's how that's turning out. Luke Rockhold, this is another knockout loss for him. It didn't look like he was really out of it. Yoel Romero pretty much just like ran up to him and started kissing him, and Luke Rockhold didn't even know where he was. Like he just woke up, and Romero like said some stuff to him. I don't know. I think he was just like, telling him, wished him a good fight or whatever it was, or told him to find Jesus, whatever he told him, and I think it seemed very pleasant and sincere. He kissed him, kissed him, and Rockhold was just out of it. We know Luke Rockhold's pretty much a sore loser. Like when he lost to like Vitor Belfort and what was it? Vitor, Michael Bisping. He doesn't handle those losses very well. He kind of seems a little like bitter and resentful afterwards. So that's probably going to be the case with this. I don't know what fights next for him. I'm sure they're gonna still give him like a top guy, but I have to think if he loses again, especially by knockout, the UFC is probably gonna consider whether or not it's worth keeping him. His price, he's definitely not a fan favorite. He does have fans, but your average fan kind of doesn't like his personality that comes off to the public. Like I don't know him personally, but as a fan, he kind of comes off as a bit of a jerk. So, I don't know. And if he does, I'm sure he'll always have a job at Bellator. He's buddy with Scott Coker. I'm sure you give him fights over there. There's plenty of good middleweights and 205ers over there at Bellator. He could fight like Musasi. I wanted to see that fight. Yeah, that Yoel knockout was awesome. He's going to be fighting Whitaker next, and we'll see what's next for Luke Rockhold. In the co-main event, we had Curtis Blades. He defeated Mark Hunt by unanimous decision. But Mark Hunt, he rocked Curtis Blades. He hit him with some huge punches, and Curtis Blades was out on his feet. He was stumbling around. He was, it was very close to being finished. Like if Mark Hunt landed like one more clean shot, the fight would have been over. But Curtis Blades, he fought tough. He fought really well. He did what he had to. It wasn't necessarily exciting. He pretty much wrestled Mark Hunt the entire fight. I'm a longtime Mark Hunt fan. As you can tell, I got my K1 Grand Prix PlayStation 2 game here it's got Mark Hunt on the cover. That's how long Mark Hunt's been the man for. This game is from 2003, and Mark Hunt was the man back then in K1. With knockouts. He was also known as having a crazy chin back then as well too. So that just shows that he's still at like the top level. After all these years, and that's intense. You gotta give him props for that. But Curtis Blades, he got the win. He did what he had to, so he's gonna probably get a higher ranked opponent, work his way up the ladder. Hunt, we know he's had his disputes with the UFC, so I'm not sure where he's gonna go from here. If they're gonna give him another fight, I'm not sure what his contract situation is at the moment. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. We also had Tai Tuivasa. He TKO'd Cyril Asker. He was just pummeling him. Like he hit him with some big shots, and Cyril Asker was just like another fighter that was pretty much just like he was just kind of like he was just so too tough for his own good. He wouldn't go down. He was just sitting there eating shots over and over again. You know, I was kind of hoping the referee stepped in a little sooner to save him, because yeah, by the time he stepped in, he ate like a few big shots. He ate some elbows, punches, and like Tai Tuivasa pretty much just like threw him to the ground, and Cyril Asker just face planted. Like he was just out on his feet. So when he got thrown aside, yeah, it was just like he face planted on the ground, and that's when the referee stepped in. Yeah, that was a crazy finish. In the fight before that, we had Jake Matthews. He won a decision over Jingling Lee. This was a pretty straightforward win for Jake Matthews. I want to say he was very classy in his win. Jing Liang, he was like he gouged Jake Matthews' eyes. It seemed pretty intentional, you know, like no one wants to see that. Like that, it was gruesome. You know, everyone wants to be good sportsmen. You know, I don't know what's going on in his head at the moment. You know, I don't want to say he's like a dirty fighter, but it came off that way. When you see it, it looks nasty, and like, what else could he be thinking? You know, he was in a guillotine choke. You know, he was probably just doing whatever he could to get out, but it was nasty. The referee should have stepped in. He could have maybe even called the fight, disqualified him. You know, he didn't even take a point away or anything. You know, he should have at least taken a point away. He didn't even do that. He didn't. You know, like I said, he could have probably even disqualified him because he was in a submission. He used it to get out of the submission, and it was nasty. You could permanently damage someone's eye with that. Props to Jake Matthews for keeping a cool head. He was very classy afterwards, and like he didn't hold a grudge or anything. And you know, that was good. Very she shows some really good sportsmanship in that. So I wanted to mention that. In the next fight we had, it was in the fight before, it was Tyson Pedro versus Safarov. Yeah, Tyson Pedro, he got a sick Kimura on Safarov. It was really good. Like he rolled him over. Like it was great positioning, great technique, and it seemed like he had locked it up tight, like quick. And yeah, that was really good. Like yeah, like people on social media would be like, yeah, that looked like it hurt. Yeah, definitely does. When like you get like a Kimura, someone gets a Kimura on you like that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're gonna be feeling that. So that was a good win for him, Tyson Pedro with the Kimura. Also on the card, it was Israel Adesanya. He faced off against Rob Wilkinson. He ended up beating him by TKO with strikes. Israel Adesanya, like I said in the preview show, this dude's awesome. Like his striking, his movement, like this dude's intense. Like his highlight reel. If you haven't seen his kickboxing matches, they're awesome. His MMA fights. And yeah, he did really well. I think this was a good fight. We got to see him, you know, get tested with like his takedown defense a bit, getting clinched up against the cage, you know, what he would do there. And, you know, it wasn't like the craziest performance he's ever had, but it was very well. It was a very well, like executed performance, because we got to see, you know, like I said, his takedown defense. It showed us that he is ready for like the next step. And don't worry about his crazy striking. Like it's his striking's on another level. And now that we got to see like him get through like this like the what he's gonna face, the UFC, like guys are gonna try to hold you against the cage and stuff like that. You know, we know how he's gonna react with that, and I'm really excited to see what he's gonna do in his next fight. You know, his striking, if they're gonna put him up against another striker or whatever the case is. I can't wait to see that next. And another fight worth mentioning, there was Alexander Volkanovski versus Jeremy Kennedy. Alexander Volkanovski ended up winning by TKO with ground and pound. It was some sick ground and pound. He landed some vicious body shots. Jimmy Smith even said on the broadcast, like, "Wow, those are loud," you know, like because they were really loud body shots. You could tell, like they hurt. So good performance by Alexander Volkanovski. Also on the prelims, there was Josier Formiga versus Ben Wynn. Josier Formiga ended up winning by rear naked choke. He ended up catching Ben Wynn with a sick spinning back fist that dropped him. It looked like he was almost out. And then Josier, instead of throwing more like punches or anything, he just jumped. You know, he just took the back, synced in the choke, and he ended up choking Ben Wynn out completely cold. It only took a few seconds. It was a really tight choke. Ben Nguyen was rocked after that spinning back fist. So yeah, that was an exciting finish. And another fight on the prelims was Ross Pearson. He beat Mizuto Hirota by decision. I didn't agree with the decision. I thought Mizuto Hirota won that fight. I think he did enough. I think he landed the better strikes. But there was a lot of I guess you could say with the scores of the judges' scorecards, there was a lot of weird scoring on that night with the Aussie judges. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I thought Mizuto Hirota, it wasn't like the most exciting fight, but I think he did enough to win that fight. Overall, UFC 221 was a good night. Like that main card, there was a lot. The Yoel Romero knockout of Luke Rockhold, the Tai Tuivasa finish over Cyril Asker, Tyson Pedro with the Kimura. There was a lot of it. And on the prelims, like Israel Adesanya, Alexander Volkanovski, Jussier Formiga, there was a lot of action there as well. It was a good night of fights. I had a lot of fun watching it, and I can't wait to see what's next for the winners and losers on this from this card. Thank you guys for joining me for the UFC 221 post-fight special. Stay tuned later this week for another episode of MMA at Midnight, and we'll see you next time. Bye.